All right, we've assembled the Province Sports panel here, guys, at Woody's Pub in Coquitlam. Ed Willes, Jason Botchford. Hey, guys, 15 games to go for the Vancouver Canucks. Brock Boeser no longer part of the mix. Injuries have been a huge part of the story this season, but none more significant than his. So where does this hockey team go from here? What do they look like over the final 15 games?
Like, to me, this really shines a light on what it is they're trying to do here, because management has preached about, creating this environment that supports its young players and gives them an opportunity to grow. But this season has to be more than about Brock Boeser. It has to be about this other layer of prospects they've got coming, and they've got to step up now. If this is just about Brock Boeser, and he's been a fantastic story, don't get me wrong, but if he's the only thing that's gone right for the Canucks this season, I would submit it's kind of a lost year for them.
But what do you, when you see the season that Brock Boeser has had, what does that do for expectations from the management group, and maybe for the fans as well, about this next wave of prospects? Like, not every guy's going to step in and do what Brock Boeser has done.
No, it's unrealistic expectations for anyone to think that way, but he's done a lot. He may have saved Jim's job. I think he's changed the way a lot of people look at the way, what the team has done, the way that they're managing the team. They believe in the prospect pool. But I keep hearing Travis say, like, we've got all these guys that are, trying to show that they belong in the NHL. And to which I say, well, that means you don't have a lot of NHL players, and you need more NHL players, right? They've kind of failed in that aspect. It's been Brock Boeser who's actually helped the veterans along, and now we're seeing that when he's or I fear we may see that over the next 15 games with him plugged out of the lineup. I think that they're really going to struggle, because if you're an opposing coach and you're looking at the Vancouver Canucks right now, you're saying, like, we'll slow down, stop the Sedins, and who's really going to beat us? They've got Bo Horvat on the line with Lepsic and whoever else you want to pick. That's Eris Vertanen the other night, who's fine, but he's not a first-line NHL player. So they're a team without a first line right now, and that's the kind of hole that you create with just this one guy being able to being taken out of the lineup. He's that important to the club, and unfortunately they have to change that sometime soon. I'm not sure they're going to be able to change it for next year, but I think it was like you said earlier, like, it's got to be more than Brock Boeser. But right now, there's not a lot more than Brock Boeser. There's Bo Horvat, who's been a nice story. He's on a 60-point pace, and that's great. And the Sedins have had, I guess you could call it a bounce back. They'll probably get above 50 points, which is fine, but they're not going to be around here for much longer. Now, among the rest of the guys who are on the team right now, who would you pick to say, okay, that's a guy that's going to be on a Stanley, like, we envision this is the guy when we have an Yzerman-type Tampa Bay team, these are the guys that are going to be there, and there's not a lot of guys I would guess that you're going to pick from the club that's playing right now.
No, and that's the issue. They went out, they tried to fill some of these gaps in free agency last year, and let's be honest, outside of Thomas Vanek, the free agent signings did not pan out, and they really haven't done a whole lot to sort of buy this organization a lot of time, because the guys that were supposed to produce offense haven't done it. The defensive players haven't necessarily stepped in and added much. And so coming to the end of a season that, they're right back to square one. And I guess the question, like, what are they going to do in free agency this time around?
Okay, this is, and I'll steer this right back to you, Ed, on this point, because it takes more than high draft picks. It takes more than even hitting guys in middle rounds to build a contender, to build a team that's relevant, that can win a Stanley Cup, right? So if I say, okay, if I concede the point that the team is drafted well and they've got some nice prospects coming, you still need to do the little things well. Like, they still need to pick the right free agents and sign the right contracts. Now, when you look at this lineup and you see they picked Del Zotto, they picked Goodbranson, they picked Gagne, they picked Burmistrov. Like, I don't have a lot of faith right now that they can do the little things right, and some of these are the big things like Eriksson. So why should I be encouraged that even when Paterson arrives, Gaudette arrives, Juolevi arrives, that they're going to surround them with the right guys.
See, young Jason, to me you have hit on the biggest topic facing, and that is should the faithful, should the paying public have confidence? And I don't know the answer to that, because now we're into the stage where it's all about managerial acumen, it's about managing assets, it's about moving this piece for that piece to fill holes. It's great, but like in all honesty, when you're picking in the top 5, you should have accumulated a pretty sexy list of prospects. So they've done that. But now they have to prove that they can get to the next level. And I think it's fair for people to be skeptical based on what they've seen so far. I was just going to add one thing that, in the interest of full disclosure, we are taping right after the Wednesday night game where they managed 17 shots against the Arizona Coyotes. So this is kind of going to color everything we're going to say. But I think for fans, that brought up all the nightmarish images from the last 15 games of last year. And this organization cannot afford another death march like that.
But it's bigger than, and I know this game, that Arizona game was brutal, and this is all much bigger than that. But over the past 3 seasons, the Canucks have 203 points as of where I'm talking right now. That's the second fewest in the entire NHL. Arizona's the fewest at 201. The Canucks have 203 points in 3 seasons. 3 seasons. Yeah. So how, why do they think, one of my issues is the hubris that they show when they stand up there and they say everything we're doing is right, we don't need any help, we don't need to make changes to the front office. I find that disturbing when they've been trying to be competitive and they have the second worst. If they had said 3 years ago, we're going to tank, we're going for the top pick, there's going to be pain, the kind of stuff that Bettman basically said when he was here, I'd be feeling a lot better right now. I'm feeling queasy because they said we're going to try to win and be competitive, and we got the second worst record in hockey.
So many questions, not many answers, but that's going to allow us to continue to convene panels like this one here at Woody's Pub as we try to figure out the direction and how the Canucks ultimately are going to get where they want to go.
They really are the world's most interesting 29th place team, aren't they?